Aikido is known for flowing movements, joint locks, and peaceful philosophy. But is it actually useful in a real fight?
Okay, so are you able to show me the traditional way how the Aikido be done in the technique? And maybe you can show me the modern way how you implement?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so let's start with the one which I managed to pull off the most.
Okay.
It's my favorite one. You can find it in different martial arts. Aikido people tend to be like, you can see it in movies actually, very common. I can send you some clips like John Wick, Daredevil, like it's in many movies.
To be fair, John Wick does use Aikido because I know the guy who,
Nice. It's like, but it's very visually appealing in the movies, but also you can find it in karate, you can find it in jiu-jitsu, but it's very big in Aikido.
Okay.
So it's called kote gaeshi.
Okay.
Kote is the wrist, gaeshi is turn. So a wrist turn,
Kote
literally.
gaeshi.
Yeah. So if you grab me, this is the famous Aikido moment.
Which way?
It can be either way. In Aikido, we're very specific. If it's this way, there's one variation. If it's another way, there's a different variation. But let's say, for the sake of the demonstration, let's do it this side.
Okay.
So the traditional way, Aikido became very circular and very big and rounded, which I think is not really effective. But the traditional way, first of all, I enter through your attack line. Aikido is very big about that. Like I want to enter away, which in boxing, that's also something you want to do, right?
Correct.
You're looking for that angle which is effective. So Aikido, in a sense, it does address that. Like I want to go where it's difficult for you to attack me, and I have an advantage. Now there's some grip fighting where I block your hand from following me because otherwise you're following me. I twist my arm. This is the gap, and now I shift around. I grab the hand. So this is where we're going to have to be compliant. Otherwise the technique is not going to work. So this is the traditional version, right? So I'm using my center of mass. Again, a big concept in Aikido. I'm bringing you out of balance, right? So it's very nice that you're nice here because then it works. So my thumb goes between your two knuckles. This is where it's more effective. I'm already starting to twist you, and you can see that, the wrist locks, the elbow locks, the shoulder locks, and now suddenly you're already almost about to fall.
Okay.
And then I add the second hand to put extra pressure. And I'm also locking, like essentially making like round frames. It's called tegatana, like sword arms in Aikido. And I put pressure where essentially, you are falling, right? And now in Aikido, again, if I show you one more time, so if you grab me, it's like bam, 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 and it's here. And this is the Steven Seagal where you
actually works.
You would actually, if you're being with me, then it works.
I will flip
You would
this
do
way.
the flip. Obviously, you don't have to. You can go nicely. And then here, the traditional way, which I wouldn't use it in fighting, I would turn you around, and this is where I do like a immobilization. Now the issue is, if you are, let's say, it can also be if you want to push me, I can also do this, right?
That's quick.
But this is with people who are uncoordinated. So some Aikido people would say like, oh, it works great on drunk people, because they're like.
But I can see how this works too. Yeah.
Now the trouble is that people, if you start to pull them, they have the opposite effect. They want to pull back. And in Aikido, I don't want to get Aikido people mad, but in most cases that I train with many different masters, we would pretty much never work with pulling back motion. It was always pushing, receiving.
Why is that?
So you asked why there's no pushing back motions.
Yes.
It's hard to say, but my guess is because Aikido is a lot about receiving energy and going with the flow. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why, because it's more kind of fighting. And the founder was all about non-fighting. So maybe that's the reason, which is weird because the thing is, if I grab your wrist, for example, or if I want to pull you, I can blend with your action if you're losing balance. But if you're a fighter, for example,
if I stand grounded,
and you obviously want to fight back, and I'm like, what do you do then? And this is where, for me, when I started doing jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I'm like, Aikido didn't fall into place because I'm like, I'm not used to these motions.
Yes.
But then I started looking for solutions. And one of the ways I apply the same technique, so we're grip fighting, and one of the things I do, I grab you here, so specifically in this, so if you look here, I was in this position.
Yes.
So it's the same position, but I'm already straight
going to it. Oh, so you grab it right away with the thumbs down.
Yeah, so we're grip fighting, I grab you here, and one of the things I do, it's a sneaky move, and it's fairly easy to get people for the first time. Once you get them, they're like, oh my God, I'm tensing my wrist, it's much harder to do the second time.
Okay.
I do this. And I see if their wrist is loose.
You're pushing with your thumb.
Yeah, I just play around it. So I'm kind of occupying you here, but here I'm testing you. And if the wrist is loose, high level guys usually they're already solid, I'm
Yeah.
like, it's going to be very hard to do technique. But especially less experienced and like sometimes purple belts,
They'll
they're
go like
loose
this.
here. That means I can get it. So where we're fighting, and then I'm, bam,
Oh, nice.
I immediately go here. So it's a straight motion. So I'm cutting away all the circular stuff. So again, we're grip fighting. I'm like, you're loose, 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 bam. So the good part about here, I could do hands only, but then there's only so much energy I create. But if I connect with my body, now you're fighting my entire mass with your wrist.
This is hard.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'm not going towards you because you can kind of still block it with, you can block it with your biceps, with your body.
My elbows.
Here.
That's good.
Yeah, and then I keep going. So this is not a submission, but then people fall. And then here, if you're doing jiu-jitsu, so,
yeah, because I'm trying to get them.
Yeah, but here it's essentially a takedown. And as soon as I do the takedown, I already can go.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Or I can progress to other techniques. But essentially, I'm just getting a top position.
Yes.
Now, another cool thing, actually, Vili, who just came, who you're going to film the video with, he actually showed me this trick.
Okay.
So another thing, if I got you and you're really strong here, you're not letting me do this. There's a fun trick where I do this.
Oh, nice. You trip
it works. It's like it's not even a trip. But interestingly enough, it brings your attention from fighting here to here, and then it just works.
You want my mind to go to my foot.
Yeah, so you're like oh my, and like you see I'm coming with the wrist lock, you see I'm coming with the wrist lock. You're fighting it here, and I kick you here. And
nice.
Then, bam. It just kind of loosens up the wrist. So actually,
that's cool.
Yeah, so I like this version as well. So this is the technique I catch most of the time.
Okay.
Like it's fairly effective. Now let's look at the less effective.
Okay.
But they still work. So another technique I'm looking at, so the traditional way, it's called irimi nage. Irimi is entry, nage is throw.
Okay.
So let's do we're working together. I enter here. Now in Aikido, I actually bring you around, which is...
You're grabbing my neck?
Yeah. And I'm supposed to bring you out of balance, and then I tilt you up. I push your back with the elbow, and I lean you forward to throw. So that's irimi nage.
Can you do it one more time, just in one motion?
Yeah, so actually, so let's say I'll do the traditional way. Let's say I'm here, I enter, I cut, and move.
Oh, wow.
Bam, I do it here. So now when you're compliant, which
actually feels really good.
It does feel good. It's it's very flowy, so it's you have that nice flow. But it's all about you being with me. And let's say an untrained person, maybe they're all over the place, they don't have good balance. Maybe you could pull it off. But someone who's trained, first of all, you're not gonna let me pass.
Yeah, because I'm gonna do this right away.
You're just not gonna let me go there. I mean, if I do like a 2-on-1, even that is hard to pull off. That's like a master's level move sometimes. And from here, if I'm gonna try to do that, if you fight back in jiu-jitsu, you're not gonna let me move you at all.
Correct.
So now the equivalent I found, I believe it's called the clothesline.
Clothesline.
Yeah, where. Interesting enough, so if, let's say I managed to enter, which is the hard part, right? In Aikido, I'm either pushing you here with my elbow or with my hand, but the thing is the back is strong. So if you resist, if you're strong, I'm not getting you. The interesting part, and I believe this is a move from wrestling, I'm essentially doing sort of a knee tap here, because when I will push you with my whole weight, your first desire is to step back.
Step back, correct.
And I'm actually, it's a light touch, but I'm preventing you from stepping back. So a clothesline, it's this.
Nice.
And
I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah, I did catch that on a number of people, obviously less experienced than myself. I'm not super advanced. You want to add something?
No, yes, because that's actually one of my favorite moves in kickboxing.
Yeah.
I will fake the punch and come back, and the second I'll duck and I'll go like this.
Yeah.
So it's very similar.
It's pretty much the same.
I like that.
Yeah. So this is the variation I had to find on my own. They don't teach it that way in Aikido. In Aikido, it's the back and the arm. Steven Seagal does it really directly. So if you just stay there for a moment, I'm not gonna hurt you.
Okay.
But Steven Seagal just goes like, wham, So maybe that's more effective. It's
more
kind
impact
of,
first.
Yeah, more kind of like, it's essentially like a hit with the arm. But if you're talking about an actual throw, I'm not going to be able to do this. But if you're committed, if you're being forward and I manage to go here, and it's also from here, knee on belly.
You have a good control.
I start working whatever is coming next. It's not the end. Or I run away if it's self-defense.
Yes.
So that's the Riminage, traditional and practical. Another move, I'll show you the traditional way.
Okay.
Right? Again, no high expectations.
That's okay.
It's called kaiten nage. Kaiten, I believe it's like a circle or a turn. Nage is a throw or reverse throw. So I enter, I bring your arm up, my hand is on the neck, here, boom. And then from here, I can grab the arm, I grab the head, and I move forward, and there's the throw, right? Yeah, there you go. You have good,
I'm supposed to do that.
Good, yeah, you have good ukemi. So usually I'm like, oh, don't fall. So
believe it or not, I actually have an orange belt in Aikido.
There you go. I can see that. I'm like, oh, you roll nicely. That's one of the best things Aikido people do. Good rolls. So usually if you grab me, so I escape the wrist, nice. I enter here, and it's like boom, like a throw here, and a nice Aikido stance. Now the thing is, there's not a lot of control. That's the issue. And with the other techniques as well, like if I just do the traditional version, I'm only controlling your wrist, not much else. You know, if I add more pressure, my body suddenly have more control of your structure.
Correct.
With this as well, here I'm not controlling you much. Here I control your motion.
Because you have my leg.
And I prevent you from stepping back, which turns into a fall. With this, there's so much loose space here where you can resist, turn out, you can do anything.
Correct.
It would be very hard to get there. But the variation which I found to be more practical is when I secure your arm. I have not yet pulled this off doing sparring. I wasn't searching for it. Maybe I should. But this is the more functional way that I did discover. So if I grab your arm, I go into more of a kimura. Right?
I can see
so
this.
Let me see. I'll show you the other side because. So from here, I go into sort of kimura. I start to lock you, which, this is a more powerful move. I'm already having you locked. And from here, I switch over.
Nice.
Boom. Now, let's move around. So now it's essentially the same motion.
Yes.
But I have you locked. I have a pressure on your shoulder. Here I could knee.
Yes.
I could do knees, obviously not very Aikido. And here, instead of throwing you, I would just continue, pulling you down. So it's kind of like a security bouncer type of movement.
Yes.
So again, I think with advanced jiu-jitsu players, it would be hard to catch because...
we actually have this move in Shuto. Which is the guy takes it back, right? We go like this. Now, look, we have this now. So we will break this, figure four, back step, and then rips arm. So there's a really old picture, which I'll post right here, which is my teacher from the 90s. He caught one of a guy like this in a fight. And it was just him ripping the guy's arm standing.
Wow.
In that same position, which is really cool. I can see that connection.
So what's interesting for me here is that, again, the traditional way is just too much space, and this is maybe where the watering down happens, and you're like, later guys are like, how does this supposed to work in sparring? But this is not so different from this.
Correct.
And it's almost surprising, why wouldn't Aikido people train it this way? Maybe it's too painful, maybe it's too direct for the philosophy, but it's a clear signal for me, like probably this is how it was meant to be. Right.
There's a gap that maybe we lost in transition somewhere.
Right. And I think I have at least one more.
Okay, let's try.
So it's just a principle. Again, because some of the advanced practitioners of Aikido, they like to tell me that it's like, oh, I see Aikido principles everywhere. And I'm still just a developing person in fighting, and so that's why I don't see them everywhere, but they start to pop up sometimes. I'm like, hey, this is kind of Aikido, this is kind of Aikido. And one of them, so the traditional technique is called Ikkyo. It's the first principle. I roll up the end here, in there I push you forward here, and I would go down, or I would go around.
Oh, nice.
Right. But obviously here you're compliant, it works. As soon as you're non-compliant, you're gonna tense up, pull back, technique is gone. And so I wouldn't use this as a technique, but I was given a good pointer that essentially it's like a defensive position. Like, like you can, if you control the elbow, and you want to move towards me, you're essentially controlling more of the body, and then you progress to something. Even on the ground as well. If we're on the ground and you're trying to get to me,
I can see how this is applied.
Yeah, I control your elbow here, and suddenly you have a difficult time to move towards me.
Correct.
I have some defense, and from here, I go to somewhere else. So this is kind of like, I think this is what the idea of Aikido was, but then it got lost in the way.
I think that you have a good point, because we have a technique on the ground jiu-jitsu. It's called the yoke or people call it a Y escape, which is essentially the same thing. I'm right behind the elbow, and I just sort of kind of push away because you can't fight against me.
Yeah, you're controlling my body.
I can see the connection here, which is really cool.
So again, it's just interesting because so you're doing like, you do these fancy round turns and you're like, and then you're like, how would I apply it? But then you're like, hey, actually, if you just take that single moment, it was probably useful when it was just that.
Yes.
And I remembered one more. This is the big one.
Okay.
So traditional Sankyo, the third principle. This was the first principle. So now this would be hard to pull off because in Aikido, if it's one of those where you hold me, it's one of the techniques where I'm expected to go under.
Oh,
actually,
nice.
So this
Can we try
works.
to show this angle? That's cool.
So if I go here, I move to here.
Oh, man.
So this actually especially against untrained people, I caught some people in this position, especially the most important part is if I lock the elbow up, it locks your entire body, and then either, it's a submission or I can turn and walk you.
Interesting.
And then in Aikido, I would cut, and then I would move you to the ground and go for a submission. I think that would be very hard to do, but I can easily, like this, I could, use it to take your back. It's like a transition moment.
Okay.
The hard part is that with this motion, sometimes you're expected to go under and turn here. And again, anyone who knows a bit about fighting, you're not going to let me go there. As soon as I start to go there,
I'm going to start defending.
You'll do whatever, 100 different things. So that's the troublesome side. That's why I find it hard to pull it off, like in sparring. I have to really like search for it to go there. The person has to be quite unaware of what's happening.
I feel like that works really good. Maybe you are holding my head and I'm trying to push you away like this.
Right. Yeah, that would be good.
Right, because now I'm trying to push away. Because if I look my palm position, it's because down. If you try to grab me, I don't like this, I'm trying to push you, maybe now you have a position.
That's nice. And this is also an interesting point. I told you this prior to filming, where it's so nice for me to meet people who are actually much more educated in martial arts than myself, because I show something Aikido and people like yourself, you're like, hey, it could work here and it could work here and it could work here. I'm like, God damn it, you're absolutely right, And I just, I lack the training to get there, but it's there.
Yes.
But I'll show you one more cool trick. So if you take my back.
Okay.
So this actually for us Firas, Firas? Say that again? Zahabi. Thank you. Firas Zahabi actually showed this one in a tutorial, and I was like, yeah, Aikido. So if you take my back, and let's say you have you're over the top. So you have a pretty solid position. Actually.
Oh, nice.
Boom.
Nice.
Here, from here I can start
to escape.
Escaping. So
that's cool.
So it's actually the same principle, and it's legit. It's not easy to pull off, especially if people are sweaty, or they have a very good grip, but it's there.
I have seen people wrist locking people in that position. Can you show it one more time? Maybe I'll use this against people now.
Oh yeah, please do, and send it to me.
So you hold here.
So you grab the wrist and you wrap it around, and you turn it until the wrist locks, then the elbow locks, and then once the elbow locks,
keep going.
You can actually pull it over. And then, you can start working the hooks.
Nice.
And, escaping. That's cool. So that's essentially an Aikido wrist lock.
So you're doing like a baseball back grip-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to just give it a quick
Just kind of show me. So you're doing this?
Yeah. And the fingers, what I learned for Aikido, actually the fingers can be instrumental in this.
That's good.
The wrist, you want to make sure they don't turn the wrist back, so you want to control the wrist.
Okay.
But also the fingers can be like a nice addition. Yeah.
So you're controlling the finger and the wrist.
Yeah, but this way.
Yeah. So you're going wrist and finger.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
Don't hesitate to I'm used to it, so you can do that to me.
Like that.
Yeah, but also this is just a way to move the elbow. So you're not focusing on the wrist as much. You turn the wrist, but you make sure, like there you go. Oh. That's where the technique clicks. Because if the elbow is loose, I can reverse it. I can defend.
So I want this.
If it's up, I'm screwed.
That makes sense. Yeah. You want to keep the elbow out of the position.
Yeah. And last one. I keep remembering stuff.
Okay.
Now this one, I know some Aikido guys who transition to Jiu-Jitsu who know setups for this.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm not there yet. I'll show you. So the traditional technique is boom. You know this one, right?
Yes, I love this one.
Yeah, it feels so nasty
on
the joint. You eventually get used to it, and it goes away. You never get injured through it. it's like, it's kind of the peaceful way, right? It hurts, the next day you're fine, unless someone is like really, you know, terrible.
Injure your wrist.
But it's not like an injurious technique. But here you're looking for that L letter or Z, and you're putting pressure, there's leverage here, and you're putting pressure on the wrist here.
Oh, okay.
Bam. So now, I believe one of the functional Aikido guys that I met, I haven't gotten to this position myself, but apparently some people would be baiting with his hands. So if you're baiting me, I can't actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Let's try this angle. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because so now if I'm trying to,
I go here,
that's
and
cool.
so I could do this, but also if I add the body, immediately it becomes more effective.
Because this is actually very common in jiu-jitsu. When we start grapple, the guy will do this, try to grab the collar.
Right.
So you're
I guess
that's cool.
That could be there. So maybe one day I'm gonna get it.
I do think that this is practical.
Yeah. I guess so as well. It's just, I wish I was there, but one day, 2 years later. And I believe also that's apparently possible from the guard. So
from the guard?
If you're in my guard and you're working things, I can technically also submit you
I've seen people do this.
Yeah. So it's there. It's around.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of cool stuff. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to take some of these techniques and try to apply into the rolling next week. And see how it works.
And send me. And then whenever you do it, the tradition is you have to say Aikido.
Aikido. I'll pull a technique off and I'll be like Aikido.
Aikido. Yes. You have to do that.
Let's go. All right. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. That's awesome.